Welcome to another special edition of Newsmakers. Today we're focusing on students at Missouri Southern. We've been looking at the operations of the campus and how staff are working not only off campus but also providing services from off campus during this time of the campus closure and online classes. Today I have three students joining me. I'd like to welcome Emma Willerton, Zach Dobbs, and Shea Schrader. Thank you all. I know we can't all see you right now, but thank you for joining me today for this interview. I think probably the one question people in the community want to know, well, how are the students doing at this time? You know, you were basically told, don't come back after spring break. So Emma, I'm going to start off with you. Well, the question you probably have people say, well, how are you doing as a student?
Well, honestly, it's been a little hard focusing, but as long as the homework gets done, it'll be okay.
Okay, Shea, the question that people probably ask you, how are things going as a student at Missouri Southern? How would you answer that question, Shea?
Oh, sorry, my thing cut out for a second.
Okay.
I got off, I think, a lot easier than some people. I'm in my last semester of my senior year, and I'm only taking 10 hours, so it's not even like a full-time schedule. So as far as online classes, it hasn't been too difficult for me, but I've also taken a lot of online classes in the past. I also think I'm an essential employee, so I've still been working, so I've still been able to get out of the house. So it's honestly just kind of been like a perpetual like spring break for me, I guess. I don't know. It's been really odd.
Changes for everyone. And Zach, same question for you. A lot of people say, I know you're a student at Missouri Southern. How are things going for you?
Things have actually been going pretty good. Whenever we first got the announcement that campus would be closed, I was actually kind of excited about it because I was like, hey, I don't have to worry about coming to school really early. I can just sleep in, do my homework later. But then about like a week later, it kind of hit, and I just realized how fun this semester had been. So I was really excited with how like Southern Broadcasters Club had been doing. And so it's just like Shea said, it feels like just a giant spring break, and it kind of starts to make you realize you miss all your friends, and this would be the last time you might see most of them. And so overall though, it's been like a huge learning experience for all of us.
And it's been a learning experience for faculty as well as the students at transitioning. If you had an online class, you were discontinued, but if you had an on-campus class, suddenly we have this new approach to it. Shea, you mentioned experience with online classes. How has this helped you as everything went online?
I mean, I think it's helped me out a lot. I've never been someone that really needs like a whole lot of direction. Like I'm pretty good at pacing myself out, which is why I've taken a lot of online classes in the past, because at the beginning of the week, they pretty much give you an assignment and then you get it done on your own time. I think even with the transition to online classes, the classes that I had before that were in person that are now online, those have been even more structured. You know, I've got an email at the beginning of the week or several times of the week saying this is what's due, this is the day that we're going to have an online meeting, this is what needs to be done. So most of my professors, or all of my professors, have done a really good job of like keeping everyone on task, I think. But I definitely think my previous experience with online classes has kind of like made me prepared for that.
You mentioned faculty keeping you involved. Let's share some of your thoughts about that. Emma, this role the faculty have played for you as a student now that you've had this change.
Well, specifically one of my classes, we still meet at the same time as we normally would for an in-person class. We just do a Zoom meeting and we all get together and we do the same work that we would. It'd be really difficult to do that class without being in person, so it was kind of necessary, but my professor there has done a lot of really good stuff with us. He even had to get a whiteboard so he could do math behind him in the meeting. And it's been interesting figuring it out, but our professors have definitely stepped up to help us get through the semester.
Zach, communication with faculty members, not only in a classroom situation, but you've been able to keep in touch with faculty, just how are you doing type of conversations and meetings as well, which is part of, being on campus a lot of times. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so one of my classes is KGCS practicum. I was telling you earlier that we don't really have like actual class meetings. We just have meetings to get together and just make sure everyone's doing okay emotionally. We'll talk about how our lives are going, and we do that once a week. And it's been a really nice stress reliever. And so along with the other professors, they've been making sure we're doing okay. Just the other day, one of my professors emailed me asking just how I'm doing. She wants to make sure everything's going okay if I ever need anything. And I think the faculty has been just an amazing help for all the students, making sure things are going smoothly for us. And like they're on the same boat as us. They've never had to do anything like this before. So we're all going through it together, and they understand that, and they've just been a great help for all of us.
I know you mentioned that students miss being on campus and seeing everyone. Well, faculty miss seeing the students, I'm sure, as well. We miss being there and having everyone up and down the hallways being involved. Well, speaking of involvement, curious, I know all three of you were involved on campus before things stopped suddenly. So tell us a little bit about maybe the work that you did on campus, your campus involvement as a student as well. So Emma, I'll start off with you. I know that you had a job on campus as a student worker, correct?
Yeah, I worked with the university marketing and university relations area. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the working in the office, and I was just getting like super involved in it when everything on campus shut down. So it was really different, and yeah, I really miss being on campus.
Right. But the opportunity from a student worker perspective, you were doing work related to your field of study, which we specifically haven't mentioned, but you're talking about management and marketing and so forth. Tell me about that.
It was really good to work with the specific people that I was working with, because they really let me do things that I would learn most at, and it really played into what I was learning in class. So I really enjoyed having that experience, and I really look forward to getting that experience again once all of this is over.
Great. So it tied well into your area of interest. And Shea and Zach, I know you're both, I have to tell the audience, communication majors. I've seen you out, on campus all the time working. But Shea, tell us a little bit about the opportunities you had on campus. And you were also involved as a student worker and active in student organizations on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked on campus as a university language assistant. So that's basically just kind of like taking on a section of an oral communication class and doing some grading, which I'm still able to do from home, because that was like all done online anyway. The only thing that I was required to do physically at the school was have office hours. So now I hold virtual office hours that still no one comes to. No one came to the physical ones. No one comes to the virtual ones. But then I also was a student helper for KGCS, and then I had a show on KXMS with KGCS. Like Dobbs said, we've kind of just been meeting up once a week and talking about like emotionally how everyone's doing and how everyone's handling it. But I would definitely say I miss KGCS the most, and just seeing everyone and being on a crew.
Now, I know for our viewers, they may not be familiar, you were very involved with our sports coverage. Tell me a little bit about that opportunity that Missouri Southern gave you, covering the basketball games and so forth through your area of study of KGCS TV.
Yeah, it was the most fun that I've had in my entire time at Missouri Southern. Every single time that there was a home basketball game, we get a whole crew together. We would run the cameras. I did the announcing with Tashina Coleman, and last semester a guy named Hank Bullinger, but it was so much fun. It was definitely hard work. And by the end of basketball season and by the end of football season, we were definitely exhausted. I'm sure everyone was, but there's just nothing like having a team come together like that and be able to watch some great basketball and just enjoy it. And, our basketball team, they were getting ready to go play in the NCAA tournament when it got canceled. And so we were really excited to see how far they might be able to go. Of course, we'll never know now, so that's really disappointing for them. But KGCS and doing the sports announcing was just so much fun.
So that was really an opportunity for that hands-on learning through the television station as well. Zach, I know you also are one of our student employees from the TV side. Tell the audience a little bit about your involvement, what you've been able to do. You're getting ready, senior year, but you've been able to have a lot of that hands-on experience as well on television.
Yeah, so my duties as a student worker at KGCS, whereas I work master control for them mostly, but I would also be working for the football games and basketball games. Typically for the football games, I was working on the audio board, making sure people were able to hear the game good. And anytime like a referee would come on camera, I would have to turn up their audio so the audience could hear the referee make the calls. And then for the basketball games, I was typically either working audio, I was working at the radio station, or I was working on cameras. And so KGCS always made a way to make sure I felt involved and a huge part of the team. And on top of that, I was also the president of the Southern Broadcasters Club. And so we're in the middle of making a show called Southern Nights, and we're actually doing really good. We're getting episodes out really quick, and we're all having a blast. I think this is the closest the club has ever been with each other. and having that cut short wasn't all that great. But I know we were getting some really good ideas out there, and I'm hoping they're able to translate that into next semester and keep like the idea living of all those ideas we had. But overall, KGCS has provided a lot of great opportunities for me as a student, and it's invaluable for me for my future career.
Right. Now, you mentioned the Southern Nights, the television show. I know that you were able to kind of, I would say the word salvage. You had a segment recorded, and through social media and your Facebook page, you were able to actually share some of the work that you did, even though it wasn't actually able to be broadcast, correct?
Yeah, so we recorded some segments. Whenever we record an episode of Southern Nights, we'll record the segments and then the little segue transition pieces in between them. So we were getting ready to do those, like the segue pieces, before everything got cut off because of coronavirus. So we had about 2 segments we had already recorded, and we didn't really want to have them go to waste because there are some great segments. One of our segments we recorded was Interregionals, and it featured Kiara, Tashina, and Zach Mitchell in them. And so they're trying the Brazilian food. I can't think of the name of it right now, and if I tried to pronounce it, I would butcher it. But they did that, and then so they were able to try the segments based on like international students trying new foods, and then we also wanted to have like American students try international foods. And so it was a really informative way of like providing information to students on what that's like as an experience. The other segment was like Happy Times with Trevin. It was just like our completely satirical, kind of a comedy skit in a way. And so we were able to release that as well, and it actually did pretty good on Facebook for the views. And so it was just the direction we were going with Southern Nights was like a nice, like new, innovative touch, and we were really having fun with that.
Great. So keeping operations behind the scenes going, even though you weren't in a studio setting. Well, I know some of the programs I've done interviews with, we've talked to people talking about how Missouri Southern's obviously still providing services for students. So have any of you had an opportunity to call upon any of the services from Southern or contact people who may not be on campus, but you have questions to try to get answered? Anything you'd like to share along that line that, business is still going on. It's just we're all sitting in our homes doing it. Anyone have any story or any experience you'd like to share there?
I haven't really contacted campus like businesses or anything like that recently, but I do remember whenever things first started going, people were individually calling each student just to check up on them. And I think that was a really nice touch for each of the students to know that like they're still being thinked about and all that.
Great. Did you both, Shea, did you get one of the calls as well? People checking from campus for you?
I did get one of the calls, and they're very friendly, and that's the kind of thing. I don't know if they would do that at a much larger institution. I think that Missouri Southern is a very like cohesive campus, and everyone seems to really care about one another. And so it was really nice to get that call. For your other question, I actually have had to contact people on campus. I got a new car actually, and I needed some proof for my insurance company of like my GPA. And so I had to contact the registrar, and they were able to get that to me like within minutes. So I don't know how they did that, but
you were able to be served through them, and they're obviously checking their email, they're checking their online access resources as well. Emma, any experiences that you'd like to share as far as campus contacts?
Well, I had an advisor meeting for scheduling classes the week after spring break. That definitely didn't happen, but we set up a phone call the next day after that, and it worked out pretty good. We had answered questions, and for a little while, we just sat and talked about how we were doing, how crazy everything was, and how it would settle down eventually.
Right. So that online, obviously, we had that time period, as you mentioned, pre-enrollment was coming on for future semesters. You were able to then take care of that from home and talking to your advisor. And tying that together. Well, talking about keeping in touch with people are also probably curious, keeping in touch with your classmates. You mentioned not being able to see people. Has social media played a major role for all of you in trying to do that, as far as people you used to sit next to in the classroom? Now you're maybe talking to them through Zoom or Facebook or how? Emma, any contacts there that you can share?
I, after the first few weeks, went and found all of my classmates on Facebook, and when we have questions, we just message on there during class during the week. So we keep in touch so that we can still communicate about what's going on in the class.
And Shea, have you been able to keep in touch with people as well, the classmates, people that you've had throughout the years in class?
Yeah, I have been able to. Dobbs is probably actually my best friend that I've made at Missouri Southern. And we pretty free. We also work together, so that helps. But as far as like people that I would just kind of see on a day-to-day basis, but I didn't really like have contact with them. I've had added a few of those people on Snapchat to talk to them. It's not the same as being in person, but it's still better than nothing.
And Zach, I know you mentioned the Southern Broadcasters Club. Have you been able to keep in touch with those club members that you used to see every week at meetings and your productions and so forth?
Yeah, so we've been keeping in some good contact. We have a group meet with all the members that have been able to join the group meeting. So we'll talk to each other every once in a while, talk about the show and any plans for the future, and we'll just catch up with each other. I've had our host of the show, our vice president, text me at random times asking if I was doing okay. And so just overall, like we've been in good contact with each other. We're all really close, and it's just like all a bunch of best friends in that club. So it was really, really nice for all of us.
Well, I know we're talking about people who are getting ready to graduate. We have some seniors represented here as well. The fact that everything's different this year, obviously, graduation's been changed. There's a virtual approach. How have you been able to handle those types of changes in your life? Shea and Zach, specific, because you were looking at graduation. Shea?
Yeah, I think that this is a really tough situation, and there was, no matter what decision the university came to, it wasn't going to be perfect for everyone. I really appreciate the fact that they're trying so hard to still make these spring, or is this the spring semester? Yeah.
Spring semester, okay.
Yeah, the spring graduates feel important and feel included. I know they have a lot of virtual stuff that they're doing. They're asking people to send in videos of themselves celebrating graduating and stuff like that to release. And then I know that they've also been invited to the December graduation. So the people that can will still get to walk, which is really important. Not necessarily everyone will be able to, but I'm sure the people that's really something that they wanted to do will be able to.
Zach, your feelings about that aspect of graduation and this semester, affecting your year?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Shea with all that. It's like whenever it first happened, graduation getting postponed, it was really tough to kind of deal with emotionally, because I was like, that's like one of your biggest days of your life is walking for college graduation. But then I kind of started to think, we're not the only ones going through this. High school seniors are also dealing with the same issue, and some might not even be able to get to walk. And I think Missouri Southern has just been doing an amazing job in giving us the opportunity to be able to still walk at graduation, and they're just making sure everything works out good for all of us.
Of course, keeping the safety of the students and faculty and staff and the community in mind as they work on the plans of what they're doing. What about communication from Missouri Southern? We've seen the websites updated. They're using social media a lot. How do you keep in touch through, the messages coming from campus or these updates? Emma, you worked in university relations and marketing, so you kind of had it in kind of with the operations, but tell me how you've been able to keep in touch with what's happening from campus.
Honestly, I keep in touch with a few meetings that I've gone to for work. They do Zooms now, so I'm able to actually go and take notes and keep up on what is happening on the campus by keeping up what's happening in the office. So that's how I keep up with it.
Zach, social media playing a big role, or how have you been able to keep up with news from Missouri Southern?
They've been sending a lot of emails out. Usually they don't send a lot of emails out, but recently this has just been an overabundance of emails, and they're always keeping us informed of what's going on campus and how things are going and what the road looks like for them so far. And I've noticed that they've been posting a lot more on social media than they used to as well. So it's been nice that they're always staying in contact with us, making sure we're informed of everything going on campus.
And Shea, your aspect of hearing from Southern, getting information, keeping updated as a student?
Well, I finally followed them on Instagram, so I'm sure their social media people were happy to see that. But yeah, kind of what Dobbs said, I monitor my email all the time just for school, for work, for whatever, just making sure that I'm staying up. And they've been sending out a lot of announcements lately, but I've noticed that every time they send out like a major announcement, like for example, the one about graduation, I also like immediately saw it on Facebook and then saw a link to it on Twitter. So, maybe for the people that aren't as like proactive about checking their email as me, they would probably see it on Facebook or Twitter or maybe Instagram at some point. So I think people are going to get the information that they need for sure.
So they're definitely making that outreach to get the information to students. Well, if someone were to ask you, what is a key for success? You have, been here on end of the semester as we're recording this, but the key to success for a student to make it through this time period, this, very unexpected time in your life, but also as a college student, what has helped you the most as far as being successful? So, the end is close. We're going to make it to the end of the semester. What tip or key to success would you share? Emma?
Okay. Honestly, I just say that keep on working on the schoolwork because that's what's going to get you to the end. And remember that everyone else is going through the same thing too. So keep communication with them and you won't fail. You won't feel like you're alone. So you'll be okay.
Okay. Shea, your thoughts? Someone said, how have you been successful in handling this change?
I think flexibility has probably been the number one thing for me. Not one person, on this earth has really been through something to this scale before. Everyone is flying by the seat of their pants and making it up as they go along. What you thought was going to happen a month ago is probably not the case today. So you're just going to have to be flexible with your work. And I think that goes for students. And as far as my professors too, they've done a really good job with that. I haven't had one professor give us really difficult assignments or be super rigid about due dates or anything like that. Because I think everyone understands right now your situation is not the next person's situation. So how this is affecting you is not necessarily how it's going to affect one of your classmates.
So that individual approach as they're working with students, you're not just grouped together in a class, they're talking to each of you individually.
Yeah, for sure.
Zach, your thoughts, the key to success to someone, what would you say to someone?
I think communication is a huge part. Always be ready to email professors when you need help, and always be in contact with students and all that stuff. I think communication is the biggest thing. Waking up on time for Zoom meetings is also one. I have a hard time waking up at 10 a.m. nowadays, and so waking up for Zoom meetings on time is also a good one.
Now you've all had some experience as students at Southern. Looking to maybe the new students coming in next year, thoughts of how Southern has prepared you for your future career goals, or is preparing you, that you would want to share maybe with a new student who's thinking about coming here in the fall, or maybe an undergraduate student at a younger level of schooling. So Shea, I'll start with you on this one. As far as how has Southern helped prepare you, and what would you say to those new students?
I think that Southern has prepared me. I've gotten a lot of hands-on experience. I've been able to make a lot of great connections through the network at Missouri Southern. And my biggest advice to any incoming freshman would be your time here is what you make of it. Like anything, if you just show up and you do your classwork and you go home and you don't talk to anyone and you don't get involved, you're probably not going to have that great of an experience. If you make an active effort to make those connections and get involved with things, you are going to be so much better off. You're going to be a lot happier, I'm sure, and B, you're going to have a lot more opportunities in the long run than you would if you just showed up and went home.
Okay. Zach, your thoughts on, for those new students, younger students, what would you say to them?
Yeah, Shea basically said everything that I was going to say, but going off of the getting involved, I always put an emphasis on how important it is to get involved in activities on campus, because no matter what you're involved in, it's going to give you some sort of experience, whether you're with URM or you're with CAB or you're with KGCS, no matter what, something's going to provide you some really great experience for any career you have in the future. So getting involved is one of the most important things for me as a student to get to just do.
And Emma, your thoughts, what would you share?
I would let them know that getting to know their professors and actually talking to the professors will help them succeed more, specifically because the professors do care at Southern, and it's the right size for them to engage their students more. So I definitely say to contact their professors and have conversations with them throughout the semester, just to keep it going.
Great. Well, I know there's a lot that's happened in the last few months and a lot that you've had to deal with as students. I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me today, and wish you all the best of luck, not only at the end of this semester, but into the future, and for those graduating onto the rest of your careers. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Judy.
And I'd like to thank the viewers for joining us this week on Newsmakers for this special edition as we continue to look at Missouri Southern during this time of working off campus and the online transition. Hope you can join us again for another program.